Hello everybody and welcome back. It's been 1 year since my first video, since I first used my home equity line of credit to invest. In this video, I want to do a sort of year in review. I'll go over where I started, what my original plan was versus where I am today, and highlight the differences. And if you find this video interesting, remember to hit the like button. Now let's get into it. First, a little history. I started investing in 2017, and during the next 3 years, my wife and I were able to save and invest $22.5 thousand. Then COVID hit us in March 2020, and because my wife had her hours reduced, we didn't have that extra income anymore. If I wanted to keep investing, I had to find another way. Then I had the idea to use our HELOC to invest, and because interest rates were at an all-time low, I knew I could make more money in the market than I would paying in interest. My original plan was to see if I could borrow money, invest it, and use the dividends to pay it off, essentially getting money for free. I started off borrowing from my HELOC at an interest rate of 2.95%, investing in blue chip Canadian stocks that have a dividend greater than that interest rate, and use the dividends to pay down the loan. Sure, it would take a long time, around 15 years, but in the end, I'd have $65K for free, plus all future dividends going forward. The first stocks I chose were Enbridge, Bank of Nova Scotia, Bank of Montreal, Bell, TELUS, and RioCan. I chose these stocks because of their low risk, their growth potential, and most of all, their high yield. I didn't want purely growth stocks. I wanted dividend paying stocks that would cover the interest. At this point, I had borrowed $65,000. This went on for 4 months, and I couldn't be more happy with the way things had worked out. It was at this point that I found out that instead of using the dividends to pay down the loan, I could double my return by using my active income to pay the interest and reinvest 100% of the dividends. So I decided to change my plan and decided to add more money to the pot. Only this time I expanded my scope to include high yielding ETFs because they would provide me more dividends that I could then use to buy more stocks, which in turn would give me more dividends. Yes, the snowball effect, also known as compound growth. I used that extra money to raise my position in Enbridge and RioCan, and I also purchased ZWC and ZWK. I invested that money in November 2020, and shortly after, vaccine news hit, and that marked the beginning of our bull market. After a few months of seeing the prices rise, I decided to go all in and max out both my wife's and my own TFSA. With that money, I bought TD and Royal Bank, and the dividends I did reinvest, I put into H&R REIT. At this point, I had maxed out both TFSAs and had borrowed $125,000 from my HELOC. Now let's see how my portfolio has done. I started with $22.5 thousand and $120 per month in dividends. After borrowing $125,000 and investing it, my principal investment was $147,500. Today, that has grown to $200,000. That's an increase of $53,000 or 36%. In part to the appreciation of stocks such as RioCan up $7,000, Enbridge up $6.7,000, Bank of Nova Scotia up $6.5,000, and Bank of Montreal up $4.5,000. Now let's talk about dividends. During this past year, 2 stocks cut their dividends, RioCan by 33% and ZWC by 9%, while 3 stocks increased their dividends, Bell by 5%, Enbridge by 3%, TELUS raised their dividends 3 times, totaling 8.5%. On average, I'm receiving $844 per month in dividends, while each month my interest payments are $276. That brings my monthly net income at $568 per month. Now it's disclaimer time. If this seems too good to be true, that's because for most of the time, it is. I 100% understand that the profit I'm seeing is a result of the COVID crash and is not a reflection on my superior investing abilities. I know I didn't do anything special. I chose mostly regular, safe, blue chip companies. But one thing I did do special was invest in a bear market while everyone else pulled out their money. So what's my plan going forward? In previous videos, I said I was going to invest in growth ETFs such as TGED, VBAL, VGROW, and XUU. But I have since learned that those ETFs have many overlapping holdings. Most of those ETFs have Apple, Amazon, Facebook, and other large cap US companies. I wasn't diversifying like I thought. I could make this simple and invest in XEQT, iShares Core Equity ETF portfolio. This ETF contains large companies from the US, Canada, Japan, many European countries, China, and Australia. I'm definitely going to use this fund in my other accounts, like my FRESP and RDSP, where I am working with much lower sums of money. But for my TFSA, I enjoy owning individual Canadian companies. I find it fun to follow a company, watch how they're doing, read articles on all the good news and the bad. So while this approach isn't for everybody, this is what I've settled on. In one TFSA account, I'm going to continue to invest in more Canadian companies, as well as add to my position in TC Energy, Algonquin, and Manulife. This will give me coverage in the Canadian market. In my other TFSA account, I'm going to reinvest the dividends into mostly VFV, Vanguard's S&P 500 Index ETF, which holds the top 500 US companies. This will be my main exposure into the US market and great companies like Apple, Microsoft, Amazon, Google, and Facebook to name a few. Then, to diversify globally, I've chosen VE, Vanguard's Developed European Countries ETF, and VA, Vanguard's Developed Asia Pacific Countries ETF. So that's the plan for the foreseeable future, but that doesn't mean I don't have more information to share. In my next video, I'll share my new taxable account where I'll be using the Smith maneuver. That's where you use the dividends and declared interest from the HELOC to make extra payments on your mortgage. If you'd like to see that video, hit the like and subscribe button so you'll be notified when it's out. Thank you all very much for watching, and take care.